Hello everyone, welcome to Design Twist. I'm Trevor T. Verges, and today I'm going to be drawing a dark poison Venusaur. I'm going to be talking about my Photoshop process as well as reminiscing about Pokemon and growing up playing it. So, going into this video, I have this sketch already done. In the future, I think I'm going to sketch it and record while I sketch because it's just more fun for everyone to see the full drawing from start to finish. I came in with the sketch already done. I added a couple cool things to Venusaur's design. The kind of Venus flytrap like big chomping thing on the back was just really fun. And I wanted to have it like drooling a little bit of poison because while this is dark type, the normal Venusaur is grass poison, so I figured this one will remain poison type. And being a dark type, it already has kind of like a dangerous feel, so I'm leaving that there. I still remember in the first season of the Pokemon anime when I think it was the ghost that they were fighting. It was like it might have been the Maiden's Peak episode, I haven't checked, but it was the one that summoned the Mongoose to fight Ekans, and it fused a Blastoise and a Venusaur into Venustoise. I remember when I was a kid, I thought that was the craziest thing. Anyone who watched the first season of Pokemon when they were kids probably remembers that. But the concept of Pokemon fusion was probably created by that episode. And obviously that concept has been used in so many fan games and fan projects and fan art. It's just really cool, and I'm definitely going to do a fusion in the future. I'm not sure what yet. I still have a couple other videos and Pokemon designs in the pipeline that I'm working on for future videos. But I'm sure I'll do a fusion. I'll probably do fusions of other properties with Pokemon as well, or other properties with each other. It's just too fun to pass up. I don't think I remember the first time I ever saw Pokemon. I must have been 6 years old, maybe 7. So I just don't remember the first time I ever saw it. I don't know if it was an ad on TV for the Game Boy Color game, or if it was the anime. I don't know when those came out in America. It was probably the game, though. It was probably a commercial for the game. But my mom, who's probably watching this video, hi mom, mentioned to me that we were at a Chinese restaurant, I want to say, and we saw a Pikachu in the window, and I told her it was Pikachu, and she's like, what is that? Why do you know what that is? What do you mean? I'm like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old just knowing some random thing that I saw on TV. You know, unbeknownst to us, it would just be such a massive part of my life. When I didn't really have a lot of friends in my school, all of my best friends to this day are people that I met through Pokemon, through playing the Pokemon card game at League. And, you know, shout out all my boys from Michigan who played Pokemon TCG with me growing up. And I've played the games since the beginning. And I've played most of the Pokemon games. And I have a friend who's a lot younger than me whose first Pokemon game was Fire Red. So he didn't really experience the generations before that, and he's been experiencing the remakes, which is pretty cool. And I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing the remakes. There are younger people now whose first Pokemon game was like X and Y or Black and White, and that's their nostalgia. That was their experience with Pokemon. So obviously they judge everything based on that, and they should. And your opinion about any Pokemon game is probably going to be different a lot of years later after you've played other ones. I've kind of all but fallen off actually playing the games, which sucks. I just really didn't like Sun and Moon or Sword and Shield, and they were super forgettable. I just wasn't into it, probably just because I'm older, probably because the community that I'm in now isn't as Pokemon centric as it was growing up. But if you want to know my nostalgia, obviously I played the first ones, Red, Blue, but when Pokemon Diamond came out, it was near the end of my junior year of high school. So I spent the entire summer after junior year playing Pokemon Diamond, entire senior year of high school playing Pokemon Diamond, and then my summer break after graduating before college was still Pokemon Diamond. And I think it was Platinum that came out in 2009, and I was already in college, and I believe Heart Gold Soul Silver was after that. But that is such a large and formative part of someone's life to have one specific video game that they're playing. Obviously I was playing other games. It wasn't just Pokemon. I was also playing 10 billion hours of Super Smash Brothers. But no, Pokemon was just how I met all my friends. I played all the games. I played the card game. I watched the show. It was just such an integral part of my life. And I'm sure a lot of people who have played Pokemon for many years, or any video game this similar to this for a long time, they have stories about like how it impacted their life or what they were doing at the time when they were playing it. I still remember in middle school bringing a folded up piece of notebook paper to my friend it was drama class. I want to say it was 7th grade. And I had all these little strategies of Pokemon builds that I wanted to make. And I think it was Pokemon Crystal. That seems off because Crystal was like 2002. No, I would have been 12. That's middle school. Yeah. So it was like all these Pokemon I wanted to make. I remember I was like, hey, if you have Lantern and you give it Rain Dance and use Thunder, it'll be powerful. And it's a lightning type. I don't know. I didn't know anything about meta until I was like an adult. So even in the trading card game, I would bring the most jank garbage decks to these tournaments thinking I was doing good. It wasn't until my last 3 or 4 Pokemon tournaments where I was like, okay, this deck's actually good. I have to build this and practice it and not just use my favorite Pokemon or something. And I'm sure everyone has little stories like that. I remember falling asleep on my best friend's floor, like on a little mattress, and I was staying up late to try to EV train some Pokemon when we figured out what that was. And I was playing Ruby or Sapphire, one of the two, and I was just staying up super late into the night with my Game Boy Advance. And I'm not sure if it was the SP, I'm not sure if it was backlit, or if I was using a light. It would have had to be the SP, because if it was late at night. So it just these stories I could probably rattle off 100 more stories about some random Pokemon-centric thing that happened to me, or one of my friends, or just the game we were playing at the time. It's a big part of my life. Put in the comments down below a Pokemon memory that you have. I would say before, like, Gen 7. Like, let's go back a little ways. Oh, if you have a really good memory of Gen 7, that was like 6 years ago, wasn't it? Dang, that's crazy. Happy New Year, everybody. Hey, this is Trevor editing the video. Just jumping in to say that Gen 7 was 9 years ago. Oh my god. Okay, continue. Yeah, you know what? Just share an awesome Pokemon memory below. Even if it's something that made you angry, if somebody stole your Charizard card when you were a kid, if your cousin spilled water on your Game Boy Color. Just throw a story below of something that happened to you that was Pokemon centric. Oh, I said I was going to talk about the Photoshop, didn't I? So yeah, this is my Dark Poison Venusaur. While I was drawing this, I was looking up different attacks. And since I haven't really been that into Pokemon since I'd say Gen 6 or 7, I'm missing a lot of the different moves and abilities. But I'm thinking this thing would have, I think Lash Out is a new move that I saw that was cool. It's probably terrible, but it just fits this thing. I would want to give it Contrary. I think that's a really cool ability. And I'm imagining this Pokemon using some type of item, maybe an item that hasn't even been invented yet, that would decrease its stats when it does a certain thing, and just using that to its advantage with Contrary. I see, Crunch, Poison Jab, maybe like something like Takedown, Gastro Acid definitely, Poison Powder, maybe Spore, Toxic. It's poison, so it can switch in on Toxic Spikes, and now I'm just talking about the game, nerding out about how it would be built. But it shares a type with Drapion, Alolan Muck, Skuntank. I think there's one other one. But yeah, it's a cool type combination. And if I really wanted to just be a jerk about it, I could just give it Close Combat. Have it be a physical tank, open up with Close Combat and boost both of its stats, and then just start sweeping people. But no, this thing has to be slow. I'm not going to let this thing... I'm not going to give this thing something like Dragon Dance. Don't let it have speed. Don't let it use a Curse with Contrary and just get super fast. But then again, it would get weak. I see this as a physical attacker. I probably wouldn't give it a lot of grass-type moves and just focus on the poison. The physicality of the creature, it's probably a lot more vicious than a normal Venusaur. If I thought about meeting Venusaur in the forest at night, it's obviously a huge creature and you should be scared of it. But I would never imagine Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, or Venusaur being the type of... I wouldn't even imagine it being carnivorous. Honestly, it's probably just chomping on grass and walking around being chill. Or eating bugs, you know? The bugs are big enough in the Pokemon universe that a Venusaur could eat it and get full. But if you saw this dark type Venusaur, this thing will probably mess you up. This is more akin to seeing a bear or a hippo in the wild. You probably don't want to mess with this, but you could probably smell it from farther away, and you would know you're getting close to where it lives if you could smell this ooze. But the ooze probably, like a Venus flytrap, attracts insects that it then eats. So it would be funny if this creature was even more gentle than a normal Venusaur. It doesn't have to move. It's slothful. It just kind of chills. But if you come up to it and try to mess with it, or its kin or something like that, it would really rough you up because it's got a spiked tail. It's probably more vicious than a regular Venusaur. It's got the spikes. I don't know. I wanted to make it look super physically imposing, because Venusaur, you know, there's something about Venusaur that just makes kind of a big cuddly dude. And since I already did Charizard as my first video and Venusaur is this video, I have... I'll tell you the Pokemon I have coming up. After a couple more videos, I have a Blastoise coming. Then after that, there is a Gengar and a Gyarados. And the Gengar might be my favorite, but we'll see when we get to the Gengar. I have yet to color it or do the line work. And I have a Persona 5 video that's going to take a while. So I'm thinking maybe late February on that video. So stay tuned if you want to see some redesigns of a boss from Persona. But yeah, I gave this Venusaur a super sleek dark skin tone. There's just something about the combination of like leafy green and then just like this bright magenta color that makes something seem unnatural and dangerous and cool. So I like that color scheme for this, and I just wanted to go with the pink green juxtaposition here for this creature. I did have its eyes white, but once I put the color in, it just looked too cool. I couldn't get rid of it. And then I put in the cloudy effect, kind of like how I did with the icy breath on the Charizard in the previous video. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a little link above. But yeah, I'm trying to boil down my workflow into a really simple state. Like I mentioned in the Charizard video, I spent a long time trying to kind of be a different kind of artist than I am now. And I just got tired of it. So I just started drawing. And I drew a lot and figured out kind of the workflow that I like. And I need to expand upon it because you're never done as an artist. You've never figured out your final style and the final way that you do everything. But just the workflow of making a sketch, picking one of the few brushes that I like, doing some simplistic, thick line work, which I love thin line work when I'm looking at art, but I tend to not want to work with thin line work. I work on pretty small size canvases compared to some professional illustrators. I don't really need a super huge canvas, and when my lines are really thin, they tend to be kind of pixelated and hard to see. So I just started working with chunky line work, and now I just like it. I like line variation, but I don't use it that much. I usually use a pretty static thick line, and then for details I'll make the size of the line smaller. But sometimes when you're inking, you will taper a line really thin for certain parts and then thicken it up in the spots that need to have shadows or on the underside of a structure. And that's kind of inking fundamentals, but I don't do it very much. Everything I do has this sort of flat, cartoony, cutout sort of vibe to it that I want to get better at, because all elements of a person's art style, or most elements of a person's art style, are based on two things. One, a way that they intentionally use a tool or a technique, or B, a technique that they've developed to get around their own shortcoming. And that might be the same thing. That's my take on it, at least. But I want to phase out of using techniques to get around my shortcomings into intentionally using those techniques. I think maybe that's the exact same thing I'm saying. I'm still working on this kind of way of thinking about it. But obviously our style is the way we use techniques. And sometimes they are intentional and sometimes they are not. And I think my thick line work habit was originally a way to avoid either the technical limitation of a bad laptop I had at the time, or my lack of confidence in thin line work that I would see in these like beautiful anime type illustrations. But at this point, I'm just used to the thick line work. I like it. I think a lot of my work has it. My work doesn't suffer from it, but I need to lean into it and add things to my art style and my workflow that complement it, because there are people out there with thick line work and their work looks beautiful. If there's something about your art style that you don't like or you're not confident with, you can work on it. You can work around it and try to do something different and make a different technique natural for you. But if you're trying to avoid it because you don't think it has merit or that it won't have value or that it doesn't fit in, trust me, just lean into it, embrace the way you draw, and it will work out. So thank you everyone for watching this episode. Hit the video with a like, subscribe if you want to see more. And again, thanks for watching Design Twist. Peace.